I don't exactly know how to start this YouTube video, but the country I grew up in, the United States, is different. A lot has changed, and I think the trajectory has gone like this and then like this. And I make this video not to complain, but out of certain frustrations, concerns. I'm a very risk-averse person. I like to be dynamic and have options. And there's a lot of things that concern me, especially right now. In fact, really ever since the virus popped up, it's been a question lingering in my head. So today I want to talk to you about some things you might not have considered. This channel is typically watched by people who either have a business and they make a lot of money, they're looking for ways to do more of that or do investments, or people who want to be in that position, right? People looking to do something of scale, business, money, whatever. And these are things I think people don't consider. I have a lot of friends in the US, very wealthy individuals, who don't consider this, and I can scream at them all I want and try to talk sense into them, but I think it's a mistake. So here's what I want to talk about. There's a long list of things that are occurring in this country, and this video was sparked by a post I just made on Instagram. And it was a 44.6% capital gains tax proposition that was passed in, still has to get voted on. It's an election year. I'm hopeful. I doubt it's going to get passed. It would cause a lot of issues. But continuing to take aim at people who have money to try to collect additional tax revenue, which is then what? Going to get sent overseas for war aid? Another $95 billion that was just sent. For what? To who? Look at the guy running our country. He can't stand. Right? He perked up at a 12-year-old girl on camera.
No serious guys under 30.
What? The guy can't formulate a sentence. Nobody respects him, therefore nobody fears him. He's not a good leader, right? And what happened with California? The $24 billion that was dedicated to homeless people, that's just lost. Oh, sorry, we lost it. You know, I've lost my wallet before too. I get it. What? 24, not million, billion. There's a gross mismanagement, and there are so many corrupt elected officials, not just in the US, but in many countries, but in the US where it's not supposed to be like that, right? And they pretend it isn't, but they're not held accountable. Now, my name is Hayden. I'm not really anybody. I have a YouTube channel here with a few 100,000 subscribers. My business is kind of twofold. I have an e-commerce company, a couple of different stores. We sell a few $1 million a year worth of physical products. On a good year, that'll get close to 10 million bucks. Those are shipped from the United States. Some of that for like our supplements, those are manufactured in the United States. That my business stuff is there, but it's global in nature. We sell to people all over the world. I can run the business from anywhere. I travel significantly. That's one arm of my business. That's the one that's been running the longest. The second one is a consulting company. We help people do that, both start and scale their business. That's what this channel is based around. That company is completely digital in nature. We work with people everywhere. And that company doesn't quite make as much in revenue, but the margin is higher. It's still not as big as the other one. But that's been an awesome business. It's allowed me to get a lot of opportunities in the first one. And then what I do with the money is investing that. That has not been as global in nature. Most people think, oh, I'll diversify. I'm going to buy some gold. I'm going to buy a bunch of real estate. Let me have, some stocks. I'll buy some Tesla, maybe the general index market. All the things you just mentioned are hedged in the US dollar. That's a whole nother topic of conversation. So I think people aren't as well protected as they might think. And part of what I want to talk about in this video is considering other options, right? Going more global in nature, which is an option. Why do you have to live in the country that you were born in? If it hurts you, if it doesn't serve you anymore, or if your interests don't align, your beliefs, I should say, then you shouldn't live there. Now, I want to make it very clear. I am not right now leaving the United States. I have absolutely no plans to do that. I don't want to do that. But I'll be damned if I don't have a backup option in the pipeline ready to go. Again, I'm a risk-averse person. I like a diversified investment strategy. I don't want to go all in on crypto. Like, that's just how I do things. And that relates to my personal freedom too, and my business freedom. The United States, especially certain states, they bully business owners. They bully wealthy people. I think they bully everybody, just in different ways. But it's ridiculous, the lack of accountability. And so I think a lot of people stuck inside the United States and the United States mindset who haven't really traveled fail to realize there's other places you could go where you're treated better. And you might hear headlines about this on TikTok and Snapchat, like, oh, somebody moved to Thailand or whatever. And Thailand's great. I've spent many, many months there. Awesome. It's a beautiful place. Would I live there? I don't want to speak in absolutes, probably not. It's not really my thing. A busy city or like a slow beach town, like it's just not for me. I've done that before. But there are many places similar to the US, big cities, quality infrastructures where you can live for significantly less money or even similar, but you get less taxes, better safety, less government involvement. And there's a lot of things like that that people don't consider. Let's talk about this big one. Let's say for whatever reason you do want to leave the US. Let's say that in a couple of years I decide to do that. Did you know, just to have the privilege, the opportunity of leaving the United States, I would have to pay a 20% exit tax on my net worth. Now think about where this is scary. Let's say you're a tech guy, you built a company. The company is worth $40 million because you raised 20 on a 40 value. Great. But you're not worth any money yet, right? The company's just starting, but the value's there and you own 30%, so your net worth is this. Well, they want to take 20% of your net worth at the time of renouncing your US citizenship, your passport, right? And when you're at a foreign embassy outside the US to do that, you have to pay. Well, some people can't even afford to get rid of their citizenship. How scary is that? It's a scary thing. If you're worth over $2 million, that exit tax becomes a factor. And I want to make it really clear, I'm not in any way anti-tax. I have paid over $1 million in taxes. I've paid 7 figures. I just turned 24. I paid my share, I paid other people's shares. I pay a lot of money through the real estate I own, payroll taxes, not to mention, you get taxed every which way. Capital gains tax, right? I make money for my business. Boom, big chunk goes to the gov. Awesome, I invest that, I make money with that. Oh, another big chunk that they want to raise by more than double, that goes to the gov. Well, now I want to take the money I've worked so hard and pay taxes on to buy something. Say I live in California, I want to buy a $200,000 Ferrari. Oh, hold on, $27,000 in sales tax, 13.5%. You're getting taxed every which way. And I get it. Again, I'm not anti-tax, but you got to ask 2 questions. In your opinion, what's fair? I don't think 40, 50%, 60% in some countries. That's not fair to me. Some people like it, that's fine. Have your own opinion. And then what are you getting for it? That's the question. And that's where I think the decrease has gone in the US. An open border policy, letting criminals in here, crime is surging. Safety is a big concern in many cities, many. Now, I don't feel the need to walk around, with a gun on my hip everywhere I go and flex my Second Amendment. I like firearms in the Second Amendment. That's a hobby of mine that I enjoy, shooting and doing things like that. But it's a point of concern. I haven't had any close calls, but I've had friends with plenty of crazy encounters, and so it's something to consider. Where schools are declining, the wokeness agenda, which is fucking disgusting. Some of the stuff that is going on in there. Are you kidding me? How would you feel if you were about to have kids or you have young children? You can't put them in the public school system. But the problem is, if you don't have the time freedom or the money freedom, you can't homeschool them or put them in a carefully selected private school. Usually the private schools aren't any better. And so that's where you have to be careful. And I understand it can be super scary to go do that somewhere else. And I have experience with this. Moving somewhere else is a big freaking deal. Now, I didn't go move to Thailand or anything like that. I actually tried that when I was 18. I moved to Bali, decided that wasn't really a thing for me. And so I moved to Thailand. I was just kind of jumping, totally free. And when I was 20, right as the world kind of shut down, I decided to move to the only tax haven that US citizens have the option to go to cleanly and easily. And that's Puerto Rico. This is a small island, only takes a few hours to drive around it. Very run down in most spots, beat up. It's a beautiful place. I lived there for 3 years. It is a beautiful place with a lot of remarkable things. And you pay a flat 4% corporate tax rate, right? You get normal salary tax on top of that, but everything's 0% capital gains. It's a really good option. You get to keep your US passport. You're still living in the US to some degree. But Americans don't have the option to go to Dubai, which is actually where I'm currently sitting right now, because to effectively take your tax rate into consideration there and actually get the benefits, you're gonna have to renounce your US citizenship, which as a US resident takes a lot of time and planning, whereas any other country, they just come here. They still keep their passport, but because they don't live in their home country, they don't have to pay, right? The US works on a citizenship-based taxation. That's a bad model. That's a broken model. And you end up losing a lot of people. You continue to do these hikes. You're not seeing people just move states. People are going to get rid of their passports. It will result in less tax dollars being collected. And so that just for me is kind of a scary thing to think of. There's a lot of concerns I have here, with just the direction the country's headed. There's obviously no other country where you have 4%-ish of the population and 85% of the lawsuits. Right? So when you want to start talking about the predatory nature of the US government, the legal system, and how that works, well, people don't factor that into your living costs. I think you need at least $100,000 a year to live in the US comfortably. You can debate me all you want. I think that's entry level. Otherwise, there's going to be additional stress. And there's other countries you can do that on a lesser amount. But what people don't factor in is in the US, what happens when somebody sues you for something you didn't do. You ever seen a bill like that come through from attorneys and have to actually handle that? I'll tell you, it's not $45. You need money. And it's a scary system. It's a predatory system where, you're in LA and there's billboards that say like, oh, were you a W-2 employee and you got fired within the last 7 years? Call us. And they just like try to make reasons to sue people. They're searching for work. I get it. It's a predatory environment though. And so that's one of those things that, like, for me, I'm not a huge fan of. But I do want to mention this. Again, my assets and my investments have been tied to the US, but my businesses are very global in nature. And so at some point, as you grow your business and income, it doesn't really matter when you're just starting, you have to ask yourself, how can I go, people say different phrases, go where you're treated best, go where is best, go where you like, because everybody likes different things. I have friends that would love to live in Thailand, not for me. Friends who want to live in Egypt or where, like Dubai, like there's different things for everybody. And so I've just seen the US get to a point that I personally have become really frustrated with. I know some of my friends that, again, are worth a lot of money, some that are worth a little. It's just like there's a general like bottle up of frustration that's happening there. And none of them really talking about it. They're just kind of sitting there and suffering in silence, because there's a whole concept of the sunk cost fallacy or whatever, where you've already been there, you're already paying taxes. Yeah, you got a good life set up, you make some money, you got your cars, your house, your vacation, your family's there, you got your whole tribe, your friends and stuff. And I get it. So they're like, I'll just kind of continue and hope it gets better. It's not. It's a scary thing. It's really scary. It would take a lot, right? Go study the national debt. Go study how they're printing money, because this is a big piece too for people who want to do stuff, like higher level finance, if you will, business owners, people who want to make a lot of money, which has always been a target of mine. That's been very important to me from a security perspective, a flexibility. I don't like risk. I just don't want the stress of not having money. I've had that before. It sucks. And so for me, living in a system where you're just getting taxed every which way, well, that's a really, really big negative for trying to build wealth, right? Is taxes. You have to factor that in. And I know a lot of this stuff might seem like it's not important or, it doesn't apply to me. It certainly does. If you hold a US passport, whether you live in the US or not, it definitely applies to you. And it's in a much bigger way than you probably think if you're kind of discounting this. But I'll tell you, again, I moved to Puerto Rico, significantly reduced my tax benefits, and decided this is no way to live, right? Because the restriction that I had was I had to spend over 6 months a year on the island, and there was a lot of other restrictions. So I was sacrificing travel I wanted to do, spending time picking and choosing whose wedding I could actually go to. What quality of life is that? I started all this for freedom. That was the whole point. And then I gave that up just for taxes, right? It's just a tough trade-off. Whereas other people in any other country pretty much can come to Dubai, not even have to have a home there. In Puerto Rico, I had to keep a place there year round. And I wasn't allowed, per the tax code, to rent it out when I'm gone. So there's a significant cost there, whereas the people, my friends from London who live in Dubai, or from Germany or Iceland, I'm hanging out with all these people here, they're from everywhere. At Denmark, and they come here, they Airbnb when they're here, they spend 2 months, 3 months a year here when it's nice. They just travel. And they don't have to have a lot of cost or time associated here. They're very flexible. And my goal isn't to just perpetually travel, but you get the idea. Optionality is important. So yeah, I just urge people to start looking at this more. Okay, that's really why I'm putting this video out. This is a very different style video. Let me know if you like it. Drop a like or something. Let me know in the comments. But for me, everybody should be taking this seriously, especially if you are a higher earner or plan on being one. You should take the next couple of years. It's a slow process. Research this a little bit, travel a little bit, pick 3 destinations a year where you might have a strategic interest in living in or spending time in, and just go see what those places are like. Again, I've been in Dubai right now for 3 weeks. I was in Egypt before. I'm headed to Thailand actually for a month after this, and then Malaysia. Some of those locations are strategic, others aren't. I just want to see it. I want to feel it. I'm not just there for 4 days. I want to be there for a couple weeks, try some local gyms, meet up with a lot of people who live there, and really get the feel. I'm not in hotels. I'm in Airbnbs. I'm buying groceries. Yeah, I go out, I want to kind of feel what it would be like to live there, rent a car. So I urge you to do that. Just start thinking more global in nature, because while I am very optimistic and very hopeful for the future, and I will do everything I can in the US to help that. And I'm paying taxes right now. I'm not even in the Puerto Rican tax program, just full transparency. I want to do what I can to uplift the country and help, but at the same time, do what you got to do.